Okay, for some reason or other, the program stopped working again. But anyway, so what do we do now? Divide both sides by -1? No. We just did that. No? So the square root thereof, don't forget, plus minus, so y is equal to plus minus the square root of -x. Well, what's the condition here? X must be less than 0. Why? Because under the root, it has to be either 0 or positive. Okay. Is the inverse a function? No, so you don't put the f to the -1. Give a reason why the inverse is not a function and place a restriction on the domain of f so that the inverse is a function. So why is that not a function? It's right here. If the inverse is not a function because it does not or doesn't pass the vertical line test. And the question is, how can we restrict the function so that the inverse is a function? So how can we place a restriction on f of x, which is a function, so that its inverse can be found? How can we restrict that? By saying x is less than and equal to 0 or more than equal to 0. And it's so easy as that, okay? I think I must just take that. And right there, I don't know if I need it, so I'm just going to write it here in case I need it, okay? I'm doing this so that I can keep the diagram in focus. Alright. Carry on with our lives. So in 2.5, this is a nice question. We are told that show that g of x plus 2f of 1 over x plus 3 is equal to 2 over f of x minus g of minus x minus 3. This is a show that will prove that question. So here we can't take things over the equal sign and all of those things. Okay? This is to be treated as an identity. Okay? So let's go. So we look at, we call this the left hand side of the equal sign. So LHX. Left hand side equals. Now what is g of x? G of x is minus 2x minus. So minus 2x minus 3. That is g of x. What is f of 1 over x? So if f of x is equal to negative x squared, then f of 1 over x is equal to what? Negative, open brackets, 1 over x squared. You see that, people? And if I have a 2 in front of this, then that number must be multiplied by 2. Does it make sense? Okay? So I'm going to put the for 2 into 1, f of 1 over x is going to be 2 times f of 1 over x is negative 1 over x all squared. Okay. Then plus 3. Plus 3 is plus 3. Not so. So what we do here is we simplify. Of course this cancels. Then we got negative 2x. Negative times positive is negative 2 into 1 over x all squared. Or you can write it as negative 2x minus 2 into 1 over x squared, which in turn also can be written as negative 2 minus 2 over x squared. So that is the left hand side in the simplest form. Okay. So if we can do the same for the right hand side, we have done the job. Okay. So let's just take this out. Let me put this here. So let's look at the right hand side. Let's take this out here. right hand side. So, what is f of x? What is f of x? Negative x squared. So in other words, it's going to be 2 over x squared. Not so? What is g of minus x? So what is g of x? G of x is equal to minus 2x minus 3. So g of minus x would be what? Negative 2 into minus x minus 3. Not so? Which is in turn 2x minus 3. That is g of minus x. What if we put a negative in front of that? Then this must be a negative in front of this. Not so? So that will simply be minus 2x plus 3. Not so? And then minus 3. I feel like I made a mistake somewhere. Okay? So this cancels. Leaves you with minus 2x plus f of x. I think I made a mistake here, no? I should have put a negative here. Not so. Because f of x was negative x squared. So 2 over that, I've shorted the negative. And I'm picking it up because I didn't manage to prove the left hand side is equal to the right hand side. And in a show that question away, prove that question, the left hand side is equal to the right hand side. Not so. Most of the time. Okay. So that is equal to negative 2x minus 2 over x squared. Which is in turn equal to the left hand side. Okay. It was either last year or the year before. This question came in for 4 marks. Okay, in paper 1. 4 marks. And it was worth every mark of it. Okay. Then I gave you question. What was the next one? You do for me question 3 for homework. And 4. 3 and 4. Then I gave you 5 as well. No? Okay, so in number 5 we are told the graph of f of x equals ax squared where x is less than or equal to 0. So this is part of a parabola. Can you see that's one arm only? Alright. Is sketched alongside. The point 2 and negative 2 and 5 lies on left. Determine the value of a. So how do we determine the value of a? We're going to substitute a, which is negative 2 and 5, into f of x, which is equal to ax squared. There's a. Okay? So that would simply be 5 is equal to a into negative 2 squared, which is 4. Divide by 4 both sides, so a is 5 over 4. The equation then of f of x is f of x equals 5 over 4x squared.
All learners who ordered a meal from
Sorry?
Miss Eli, can you please collect it from the Consumer Studies room?
You need
All learners who
you
ordered
give
a
them
meal from Miss Eli, can you please collect it from the Consumer Studies room? I have a pair of spectacles, a water bottle, and 2 lunch bags in lost property. Please come and check if it belongs to you. A water bottle, pair of spectacles, and 2 lunch bags. Thank you.
Okay, so in 5.2, anybody buy milkshake?
I gave him money. You ordered 3, no? So I gave him money. But they said to me, "Go to order." Did you pay?
Okay, the question is determine the inverse function. So what we do, interchange x and y. So you firstly y is equal to 5 over 4x squared, where x is less than or equal to 0. So if you interchange x and y, the inverse now is x is equal to 5 over 4y squared. Divided by 5 over 4 both sides. So you got 4 over 5x is equal to y squared. The square root thereof, y is equal to plus minus the square root of 4 over 5x. Okay. So if you look at that graph is going to be 5 and minus 2 is going to come through like that. So if you look at your domain here, or the restriction on x, in this case you will see that x is only greater than or equal to 0, which means to say the graph will be on the side of the x-axis only. Okay, 5.3. In 5.3 we asked to write down the domain of f and the range of the inverse function. So the domain of f is all possible x values. So we say x is less than or equal to 0. This is the domain of f. Then they want the range of the inverse function. What do you do for the range of the inverse function? It is actually the domain of the function. Not so. So this would simply be y is less than and equal to 0. Okay, you'll see that when we draw the graph. Copy the graph into your right, so you copy and complete for the inverse function graph. So let's take this off here. So if you look at the inverse function, we're simply going to do that thing at 5 and negative 2. Alright, can you see that, people? And hence y is less than or equal to 0 there. Then 5.5, if the graph of f reflected about the y. Okay, so firstly, when we draw the inverse function, that is also almost a given you must draw in there. The y is equal to x line. Okay. We are told if the graph of f reflected about the y-axis and then reflected in the line y is equal to x. Write the equation of the new function in the form. So if something is reflected in the y-axis, what happens? X becomes negative. So in other words, that is f of minus x is equal to 5 over 4 minus x squared, which is the same, which is 5 over 4 x squared. But what is different now is that the graph is actually for x's more than or equal to 0. Can you see it's on this side of the axis? So x is more than or equal to 0. So that's the condition that changes there. Okay. Then it's reflected in the line y is equal to x. So if something is reflected in the line y is equal to x, we take the inverse function. So it becomes y is equal to 5 over x is equal to 5 over 4 y squared, which now gives us the same as we had earlier on, where x is equal to plus minus the square root of 4 over 5x. Okay, it's the same as the inverse function. However, if we draw this graph in here, which is 2 and 5, it now becomes 5 and 2. Can you see that? Which means to say now, with this condition, x still has to be greater or equal to 0. That's the condition that needs to be met. Okay. So I've given you homework on this here. The exercise 3 is not examinable, so it is. I'm not going to do that with you guys. For homework, it's a revision exercise. This is for next week Friday. The revision exercise test topic 2, you can work through it over the weekend. The revision exercise test topic 2, you do for me number 1, A and B. Number 2, A, B, number 2, 2.1, 2.2, 2.3. You do for me number 3, Number 5. Yeah. So that's all you do for me. There is more. Yeah, that. You see, that's not examinable, so we're not going to spend time on that thing. Although it will give you a better, deeper understanding. But you guys first need to understand the basic before we go into deeper understanding. People enjoy the holiday and the long weekend, and you eat. Good morning, class. This afternoon's lesson we're going to do analytical geometry. Okay.